When I hear players are stepping back from the game, maybe going to what they call retirement alliances, or quitting entirely, the biggest reason I hear is because of Alliance Wars. So I feel like Alliance Wars has the biggest room for improvement in this game, and if Kabam gets Alliance Wars right, the future is looking really good for Marvel Contest of Champions for a very long time to come. And Kabam just started a beta for the changes coming to Season 10 of Alliance Wars. And there's some good things here, some things that I'm not quite so sold on some of the changes. And honestly, I still have a lot to go over myself. I'm not going to be talking about any of the node changes in this video. Those things, I feel like Kabam is still balancing. They've made some changes since launching the beta based on players' feedback already, so it's kind of no point in going over that stuff at the moment. What I want to talk about in this video is just the map layout itself, and then kind of the biggest pain points for players when it comes to Alliance Wars, and try to articulate, just what players are finding frustrating and how Kabam can improve them. So there are four big categories, in my opinion. The time investment when it comes to Alliance Wars, including like the before and after time investment, not just during the war itself. So that's one. The second is the resource cost of it all. The third is the pacing of the match and how there's these kind of big slowdowns and just times throughout the match where you can't do anything at all, and it just kind of sucks as you're waiting for other people. And then the fourth thing is the pressure to perform. And that one I'm actually not going to talk about in this video. The pressure when it comes to Alliance Wars is something I don't really know how to fix. I think there are like small improvements, and even in some of the things that I'm talking about in this video could potentially affect and lower the pressure, but at the end of the day, it is a competition, and with the amount of people involved and how long the duration of each Alliance War is, I don't know if that pressure it would ever go away entirely. But these other three areas, I think Kabam can do a lot to improve them. So let's first just start talking about the actual map changes itself. And I'm going to kind of go through all of those three things: time investment, resource cost, and pacing of the match as I explain the changes. So first thing I noticed right away when looking at the new map is that it's all now symmetrical. If you look at the bottom right section of the map, it's this circular Pokeball looking island here. And if you go over to the left side, it's that exact same Pokeball. It's no longer this very confusing portal system on the left side where, maybe you're used to taking paths on the right side of the map, and even very experienced veteran master level players, if they were used to taking paths on the right side of the map for a couple of seasons, and suddenly there's a new defender that comes out and it's on the left side of the map, but an officer realizes that you have the best champion to counter that new champion, and they send you over that way. Like, even for those veteran players, it was very confusing having to navigate these portals. It just felt like it was a system built to confuse you, and it was surprising. Like trying to get to the mini boss on the top left of the map. The fact that like only one portal can get you there, and even though one of the portals, it seems like it was so close to that, getting to that mini boss, but it didn't connect. It's just such a weird system, and I'm so happy that Kabam has changed it to now make the entire map just symmetrical as it is. So the second half of the map, it moves over to this little leaf-looking island, and same thing as you go over to the right side of the map, it's that same leaf. All of the islands here, whether you're on the right, left, or the center, it's very clear which path is going to be yours. It's just you either move left, right, or you go center, right? It's very clear, very simple to understand, even at a glance. Huge improvements on the overall map layout there. The second thing I want to talk about is the portal system. And the portal system is also seeing some big improvements. Portals, I feel like, in most maps, they kind of take away from the overall experience. But in some maps, they add to it in a positive way. I think in map 7 is kind of the most recent map that we see portals being used in a positive way, at least in my opinion, where you start out in the center of the map, everyone disperses, takes their own path, and there are 3 different portals in the first section that you can get to. No matter which portal you get to, it all forces players to go to the exact same spot. The end of all 3 of those portals takes you to the same exact spot on the map, and then anyone has the choice to, go through the mini boss. After you kill the mini boss, there's another portal, and everyone takes that same portal, sends you, disperses you throughout the map once again. This, in my opinion, is a good way to handle portals instead of a confusing way that you don't quite know if that portal is going to take you to where you want to go. So the way it's set up in the new Alliance War, yeah, no matter which way you go, let's say you go over to the right side of the map here, there's only one portal to take at the end of it, and it's going to send you to the same exact point on the map. Everyone all goes to the same point right here, whether you're taking the left, center, or middle. Whoops. And then after you get to this point on the map, you have the choice to go through one of these 2 nodes right here. These are mini boss nodes. And no matter which way you go, let's say you want to go over to the right side of the map, you would think that you have to take this right portal, right? Well, what happens if you take the left portal? Guess what? You can still get over there. This is fantastic, man. This is how it should be, right? Why? It seemed like, even though portals have the option to take you anywhere, it still felt like it was very connected in a way in the old system. But here, yeah, the portal, it feels more intuitive of what a portal can do, which is just take you anywhere. So you can go to the right side, you can go to the center, you can go to the left. Same thing if you take the portal on the right side over here, it'll connect you to any of the 3 sections, so that no matter where you go, you can get to whatever path you need to go to. And this opens up a lot of flexibility in terms of strategy. This opens up opportunity to save cost, to save some items, right? Like maybe going into the war, you were expected to take out this mini boss right here. But as you go through your fights, you face some tough defenders, you slip up a little bit, your champions, they take a beating, maybe you had to use a few items to get there, and someone else cruised through their path, they had a great time, some easier fights, right? They can now help out, even if they were going a different direction, they can help out and take out this mini boss, just because they're in a better state to take out that fight, and then move on, right? It just opens up a lot more flexibility. So I think this is fantastic, the way that Kabam has changed the portal system for this map. And it's the same thing as you get through the second half of the map. Everybody kind of all meets up at the same point right here, right before you get to the final mini bosses and final boss itself. So yeah, the portal system, the new portal system is fantastic. There are still some issues with portals though, just in general. The fact that they do cost energy not only to move onto the portal, but then moving onto the spot that the portal connects to. Just doing this little move right here, that's 2 energy. So yeah, it just sucks that it slows you down, especially at the start of a match. It just feels unnecessary. So something that Kabam can do, there's a few things that Kabam could do, actually. Something they could do is why is there even 3 portals here to begin with? If a portal can take you anywhere, why not just start players out on a portal? Or at worst, have you move to a portal, and then have that portal go anywhere. Why is there 3 spots? Feels like it's an intentional slowdown. And then when you get to the portal itself, there's another slowdown. Actually, let's go to the other side since somebody started moving in that direction. When you get to the portal itself, there's a blank node right here before you get to another blank node. So now you have to spend all of this energy. And of course, you can't do any of the fights when you get there because you have to wait till you have 5 energy before making a move. So this way you can boost up and get the most out of your boost. But you can't even do that because you have to wait for someone else to get their 5 energy before they can boost up and move. And it just creates this pace to the match that makes it not enjoyable, right? So Kabam can do a lot of things to improve this. One, they can get rid of those blank nodes and stuff like that. But I actually don't think that's the best thing to do. It actually feels really bad when you see like 2 blank nodes in a row like this. Or I noticed it on some other areas of the map, like right here, 2 blank nodes. Like, oh man. Like, imagine popping the biggest boosts and then realizing that the only fights that you go through they look like this. They're blank, Like, it just feels so bad. So that actually, speaking of boost, I think here's where Kabam can make the biggest improvement. Not only would it help the pacing of the match, but it would also potentially lower the cost, lower the kind of barrier of entry. Because Alliance Wars, when players say it's not worth it, I think some players are thinking of the rewards at the end, but I think a lot of players are thinking of just that upfront cost. Who cares about the rewards, right? Like, the rewards, they can always be adjusted, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be this insane cost to get into the war, both time-wise and resource-wise. So if Kabam can do something to help out that side of the whole not worth it equation, then I think there could be a lot of fun to be had in Alliance Wars. So I think the biggest thing that Kabam can do is change the boost system. Now, some players have suggested removing boosts entirely, and I would be totally fine with that. But I think a compromise here between removing boosts entirely and having these maps that require players to boost up, 2 or in some cases even 3 times to get through it all. A compromise would be to have players boost up a single time, but have those boosts last the entire duration of the war. Not the 3-minute boost. That would be too overpowered if you had a power start 1 on every single fight. Can you imagine? But yeah, that'd be way too powerful. But I'm talking about like the 20% champion boosts, right? Like, have that last the entire duration of war. It still puts players in that situation where they can decide to use a very cheap boost, use a mid-level boost, or if they really want to go for that win, if everything's on the line, they can put their resources into the biggest boosts and really go for it in that match. So there's still that interesting choice to be made, but it changes the pace of the war dramatically. No longer do you have to wait until you have 5 energy and have to wait for other players to have 5 energy. No longer do you have to wait until the morning. Like, let's say you have 2 energy at night, and that 2 energy is enough to get you to clear this linked node for your allies. But you don't want to do that because you want to wait until you have 5 energy in the morning. So now everyone's waiting those 8 hours while you're asleep, just so you could save the cost of it all. It just creates this overall pretty negative experience. But if boost lasted the entire duration of the war, I wouldn't even care that a portal costs a little bit of extra energy. I wouldn't care that there's a blank node right here that you have to get through. That's fine. As long as you could start out right away and take this one fight, and then wait till you have some more energy before moving on, and you don't have to worry about trying to manage your boosts in that way. It just creates this huge negative experience that I think has a ton of room for improvement. And yeah, I'm sure Kabam, I'm sure they make good money off of players buying these more expensive boost packages, but at the end of the day, if players are quitting the game over something like that, like, is that a sustainable future for the game? I don't know, man. I don't think so. I don't have all the data. Maybe it still is, but I know for sure that it's not creating a fun experience. So hopefully Kabam makes some changes there. Let's talk about the linked nodes, because that also has to do with kind of the overall pacing of the match itself. So looking at the linked nodes, actually let's go to the end of the map here. There are some improvements to the linked node system. There's still room for more, I think, but there are some improvements here. You can see this final boss here only has 3 links going to it, and don't pay attention to the fact that there are some defenders placed and some not placed. Even the nodes that don't have a defender on them, the links are still showing. So, compared to the old Alliance War map, you would think that every single one of these nodes would be linked to the final boss, but that's not the case. Same thing as you move on throughout the map. You notice that the center of the map, that created the most... it created a terrible experience when it came to Alliance War, where the people in the middle of the map, especially the person taking path 5, but also the players taking paths 4 and 6, they had to wait for everyone else to be done before they could really do anything. So it's no longer the case. You're no longer connected and bound by the other little islands here, the other paths. Everyone is kind of, each little section, you're with 2 other people, and those are really the only links that you have to worry about is at the end of the path. So There's huge improvements there. Even the first section, it looks a little bit more involved, and it is to some extent, but you'll notice if you're in the middle portion part of the map here, you still don't have to wait for the other sections to start. You can start right away. The only links going into the middle here are to these final 2 mini bosses. So it actually doesn't matter which order you take. Even though it looks worse for the middle players, it's not. It's exactly the same whether you take left, right, or middle of the map. A couple of downsides here, though. One is that, yeah, the way it's set up and the way the current boosting system works, you still are going to have to wait for people and boost multiple times, and it's going to create this overall negative feeling. And then the other downside is it's very difficult to lose gracefully when it comes to Alliance Wars. And what I mean by that is even if you're not going for the win, even if you know ahead of time that you're going to lose, it still feels like you have to clear the map. And that's because of Alliance War seasons and all of the points that you get. You know, whether you explore 0% of the map or 100% of the map, the amount of points that you lose or gain, they don't change. Like your rating, right? So you don't have to worry about like dropping tiers of Alliance Wars, but you do have to worry about your seasonal points. And this is one of the big drawbacks of the Alliance War seasons. They add a lot of positive things to the game, but the negatives just outweigh it. And it feels like you have to clear the map in an Alliance War season, or at least take out the final boss. We've incorporated a strategy this past season where, you know, some wars we try to win, but for the most part, we're focused on Alliance Quests. We're trying to rank as high as we can on Alliance Quests. We're not worried about getting the best rewards out of Alliance Wars. We're just, you know, we're participating to get some rewards, but we're not going crazy about it. But we still have to kill the final bosses. There are a ton of nodes, however, that we can skip in the current form of Alliance Wars. So it does reduce the cost in a pretty big way. But the changes to Alliance Wars here kind of takes a step back in the other direction, where the only nodes that you could skip on this map are on this center island, in the dead center of the map here. There's only 8 nodes in total that you can skip, unless you're looking to take nodes linked up, which is not really recommended, right? So yeah, in the other version of the map, you can skip more than 8 nodes. I don't know the exact number, but there are definitely more fights that you can skip. One way to kind of assist that, I think, would just be to reduce a tiny bit of the linked nodes here. So if we look at this little island right here, you still have to clear every single node on this island in order to get past it. What I would like to see done is remove this one link right here from 45 to 44. That way, you still have to clear most of this little island to get past it, but you have the option to skip node 32 and skip node 45. Yeah, you're going to be missing out on some seasonal points by doing this, but that's kind of a choice that you have to make of whether you want to spend more resources to get more points, or choose to not focus on Alliance Wars so much, take some of that pressure off, take some of that resource cost off, and skip out on it. So I would like to see that on basically all 4 of the outer islands. And yeah, that would just reduce 2 nodes there, 2 nodes there, basically an additional 8 nodes that you can skip. So 16 in total that you can skip, but you still have to get through a large portion of the map. I think that's fine, but it would just help players looking to focus on other areas of the game, give them that opportunity. Alright, so that's pretty much my thoughts on the links. Actually, one last thing to talk about here. There's some of these double link nodes, and these I think are actually pretty cool as long as they're balanced in the right way, where you kind of have to pick your poison. We see this in map 7 of Alliance Quest as well, where, you know, you approach these 2 nodes and somebody has to fight it linked. But if the link isn't that bad, it adds only a little bit of extra challenge to it. So if we look at this linked node right here, the only outgoing node is heal block. Okay, so that's not that big of a deal, right? You're not increasing their stats by 200% or something like that. It's just some heal block. Not a big deal in most cases, but it does add a little bit of difficulty. As long as those are balanced in the right way, which I haven't gone through all these double links, so I don't know if they're all balanced. But as long as they're balanced in the right way, I think that's actually something pretty cool. All right, so that's pretty much it for the linked nodes, though. The last thing I want to talk about is kind of the time investment, the before and after time investment for each war. And there's something that Kabam is doing here that is going to improve it, but not enough. They're almost there, so close to being just like, yes, man, I'm so happy about this change, right? But not quite. So here's what Kabam is doing. If you notice, a lot of these defenders, they are revealed. Some of the defenders are revealed in the current form of Alliance Wars, but there are way more defenders revealed in the new map here. The only defenders that are hidden are the ones that have these this little eyeball icon right here. If you look at any of the other nodes, like here's a good example, 39 has the eyeball icon, 40 does not. 40 will always be revealed, no matter what defender is placed there. In fact, there's only 5 nodes in total that have that eyeball icon, essentially one path of Alliance Wars here, that are hidden. And originally I thought this was a pretty cool compromise, because I am totally for revealing all the defenders. I think there's an insane amount of positive things that come from revealing the defenders. You know, a lot of the new defenders have very specific counters to them, and if you don't bring the right counter, you just lost the match right there. Like, your champion's done for, right? So that creates a pretty negative overall experience. I think it makes players... it forces players to rank up certain champions, right? Because you always want to have the right counter. Like, if you see a science champion on a certain node, you have to go into that war assuming that it is a thing. So you have to assume it's a thing. You have to have the right counter to it. And if you don't have that counter, you could be screwed. It makes the RNG of it all feel worse, because if you're not pulling the right champion, then it really does feel like you're at a serious disadvantage. It will naturally increase the attacker diversity by having all these nodes revealed. The list goes on, in my opinion, and it doesn't really take away from the difficulty of it all. If you look at all the most difficult areas of the game, like Variant, Act 6, the higher levels of Alliance Quest, all those nodes are revealed. Players can still come up with a lot of strategy and placing champions in different spots to better their defense, while still having the defenders revealed. There's only a very small amount of things that get taken away, like Corvus traps, for example. That's getting taken away, but otherwise, yeah, it's all good stuff. The problem, though, with having these 5 nodes still hidden is one of the reasons why I wanted nodes to be revealed is because it takes away from officers having to keep track of other alliances' defenses. It also takes away from the shadiness of alliances sharing each other's defenses. So yeah, it'd be a big help to revealing all the defenders. Even if there's only 5 that are hidden, alliances would still have to keep track of every other alliance's defensive setups, because if you play an alliance, if you play them again after a couple of wars or something like that, most alliances, they're going to change things up. They're going to put different defenders on those hidden nodes, and having that bit of information is going to help. So it's still going to force players into doing that. Just eliminate that. Reveal these nodes. Originally, I thought this was good that, you know, Kabam came up with this compromise where only 5 of the nodes were hidden. I thought that was cool, but after thinking about it, it's still going to be taxing on officers of the alliances. It's going to burn them out. It's just not good overall. One great thing about, you know, even if Kabam doesn't make that change, one other good thing about having all the nodes revealed is it does take away some of the planning time of trying to figure out where all the defenders are. It allows players to plan much quicker and get into the action rather than, okay, a war starts up, now we have to wait a couple of hours for an officer to kind of figure out where everything is, especially with the way we don't have control over the start of wars these days. So depending on where you are in the world, when a war starts up, you might be at work, you might be asleep. It just makes things that much more difficult, and if all the defenders are revealed, you can hop into the action, and that helps reduce that time investment once again. And it does help, you know, actually getting into the war before capping out helps end it at a better time. It just helps overall. So I'm a huge fan of having the defenders revealed, but Kabam, please just take that additional step and eliminate any kind of refields or hidden defenders. I mean, that's what I would like to see there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it all. Most things here are positive changes in my opinion. Just to kind of give a quick recap of some of the things that I don't like. Those 5 hidden defenders, for one. The boost system and how it creates a really bad feeling about the pace of the match and having to be so reliant on other people. You know, I think it's fine that the matches, they're not over in 5 minutes, but there has to be a better balance than what currently exists, and fixing the boost system would kind of solve that. I'm a huge fan of the changes to the portals and just the overall map symmetry that now exists. And yeah, I think that pretty much sums things up. This video is long enough as it is, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.